This is Andy Purewal for Boxing News. I'm John, my promoter Eddie Hearn here in God's country. You're back, Eddie, in Birmingham. How are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. The most important matter of the week, mixed grill. Are you going to be attending this week?
Possibly, yeah. I'm backwards and forwards to London, so we'll see. But possibly tomorrow night, the old post weigh-in mixed grill.
It's been reserved, so the team knows.
Will definitely be there.
Well, if you're not, you're footing the bill, so. But, Eddie, here we are after Gallery 5 returns, back where he's fought that breakout fight in the pros, if you will, with Sonny Edwards. What are you expecting this time around with Francisco Rodriguez?
Probably the toughest fight of his career, to be honest with you. I mean, I think Sonny, obviously we didn't know it at the time, but mentally he was probably coming towards the end of his career. Rodriguez is a different kind of fighter and a different kind of test. Teak tough, Mexican warrior. I mean, if you don't know about Francisco Rodriguez, I think sometimes people will say, oh, he's fighting some Mexican. The guy is a former unified world champion. I thought he beat Ioka when they fought in Japan. Had a war with Terrazas, never been stopped. Like, he is a tough opponent. And the styles will gel tremendously well. I know there's a big debate at the moment, isn't there, about, these Tom and Jerry fighters and fighters fighting off the back foot. This card is all action. Yafai Rodriguez, Conor Walker against Liam Taylor will be an absolute war for the British and Commonwealth title, and McGrail Baluta, the same. And when you throw in the prospects like Pat Brown, Giorgio Vizioli, and look out for Tia Ayton. I think this is the next Katie Taylor, which you're about to watch on Saturday, 18-year-old making her professional debut.
Just with the theme of Gallery 5, how important was it then for you guys that he had this type of test before that eventual world title shot?
Well, he's still quite young in the professional game. This is only his 10th fight, but then when you look at this, his third headline fight, I think. He's boxed internationally. He's ready. This is the final fight before he fights Terrazas, and this is the fight that we've spoken to Mr. Honda about, and we really want to get that made ASAP after this fight. But this is the perfect fight to gear you up for a fight like that, because it will not be easy at all. This will be an all-out war. But Yafai is very, very good, and he'll show those levels on Saturday.
Provided he comes through, when would you like to make that fight?
Anytime now towards the end of the year, I think we're ready, depending on physically how he comes through. But there's nothing else to do. He would have beaten Sonny Edwards, beaten this fight at the mandatory for his interim world title. It's time to fight for the full WBC title, and hopefully he looks good on Saturday.
So Pat Brown fighting this week, and he fights in 2 weeks' time in Manchester as well. So opponent-wise, would it be safe to say we're not expecting the level of what we saw in his first fight?
We've got a decent opponent, and we've got a fantastic opponent for Manchester as well, for the level that, Pat should be fighting at for a guy who's just had 2 fights after Saturday. So Pat Brown, I said to Dave Allen, they're a tremendous duo, those two, absolutely hilarious if you've been around them. And I said to Dave, although sometimes he's a bit of a joker, knows boxing inside out, and obviously trains every day with Pat Brown. They spar a lot. And I said to him, what do you think about the levels that Pat's at now? And he says he beats every domestic cruiserweight now. He's had 1 fight. Like, he's a very, very good talent, and he's so exciting to watch. So, we've got this fight, then he's up to 8 rounds already in Manchester, and then I think 1 more 8 round, and then he's in 10 rounds. And I expect to see him fighting for the British title this year. He's going to move very quickly.
On the Dave Allen front, I know you've been asked about the Deontay Wilder fight. He returns next week, provided he comes through unscathed. What can you tell me about any talks about potential Wilder-Allen?
What I can tell you is we've had a couple of approaches for Dave Allen to have massive fights. They're unexpected, but they're just a sign of what he's done and the way that his profile has gone and the popularity that he has. You know that Adelaide's fighting Hrgovic now, so the British title will become available. I think Dave Allen against TKV is a great fight for that vacant world title. But we're in talks with some big names in the top 10 and top 5 of the heavyweight division for Dave Allen to fight next. It's a very difficult decision for Dave, because it will be a life-changing opportunity that we always joke about the en-suites that he wants. This will buy him a dirty, great mansion, and you have to always consider that. But at the same time, we're also on a potential path to build to that if he keeps working hard and keeps being the fighter that we've always knew he could be, if that makes any sense at all. So, go out, beat TKV, go out, maybe defend the Lonsdale belt or fight for the European title, and then fight a top 5 guy for even more money, or roll the dice now. But Dave is one of the most unique success stories I think I've ever experienced in my career, and one of the funniest blokes I've ever seen. And you know, like, sometimes you just get just a little feeling that if he adapts himself and he actually puts the work in, he might go on a little bit of a run yet, and it'll be a lot of fun.
If you're talking potential top 5 fighters that are in the frame for Dave, out of ones who are not currently looking at fights, that would bring in the likes of your Adji Caballos, your Joseph Parker. Are those names ones which...
All I'll tell you at the moment is those fighters, even 2 of those guys that you mentioned there, and others, are looking for opponents, right? And Dave Allen fits the bill. Dave Allen has the profile, Dave Allen has the victory, Dave Allen's British, Dave Allen's one of the most popular fighters in the country. He's going to walk himself into a big fight, but timing is everything. I don't really want Dave, and it's different now to how it used to be. Back in the day, I used to just think, just fluke Dave a chance to get paid, that's it. Now I'm looking at how we can position Dave to make 7 figures plus out of a fight and actually try and manoeuvre himself up the world rankings and win titles along the way. So I don't just want to roll the dice in a fight we can't win. But Dave tells me we can win those fights. And Jamie Moore tells me this guy's good enough to compete with those guys. Deontay Wilder, one of them. So it's going to be an interesting decision next. It's you know, I'm enjoying the career guidance of Dave Allen. It's a lot of fun.
Away from him, down to what will now be a new contender in the 154 division, Jaron Ennis. A bit of a surprise, because after the Stanionis fight, he looked superb in that fight, and many would have thought, make those unifications if you could. Now he's coming out saying 154. What can you tell me why?
To be honest, if I told you that I would say Boots was at 60% in the Stanionis fight physically and still put that performance together, what you're about to see from Jaron Ennis up at 154 is a 100% Jaron Ennis, which is going to scare the shit out of the entire boxing world. Like, during fight week, for all his fights that I've worked with him for, and particularly the Stanionis fight, you've only got to look at him to see how physically depleted he is. Now, he makes the weight great, he recovers, he's a pure professional, but on fight night, he's just not 100% physically. And I think he felt that, you know, after doing tests after his last fight and stuff like that, that sooner or later, he's going to unravel because of the weight. And I think he just looked at it and went, I want to be 100%. I want to be the best I can be. And the way to do that is to be at 54. So, you know, this has been a conversation. To be honest, before the Stanionis fight, he pretty much made up his mind to move up. And then he's like, do you think you can get me unification? I'm like, I think I can. He said, I really want to unify before I move up. Anyway, we unified. Now Brian Norman fights this weekend. Yeah, but he don't even, he's a waste of time. Barrios is fighting Pacquiao. And it's like, I don't think, you know, you've got Giasov mandatory. He's like, let's do it, you know. And we looked at the TO fight, and again, like, it was very tempting, but it's just like, I just can't be 100%, and I want to go. I want to be 100%. And up at 54, he's going to be a nuisance, and there's so many great fights to be made. Tim Tszyu, Fundora, you know, so many great fights. Mutsalai.
Virgil Ortiz, is that going to be revisited?
I think Virgil Ortiz is the fight. And Saudi's asked if we would fight Virgil Ortiz on August 16th, and we said yes. But Virgil Ortiz is not ready. So what we're happy to do is have that fight in August or early September, and then fight Virgil at the end of the year. That's a brilliant fight. No world title. It should have a world title, but it's a great fight. And I have no fear for Boots against anyone at 54. Anyone. Don't get me wrong, there's some dangerous fights out there, but this young man is so special. And now you're going to see him physically 100%.
Richardson Hitches with a dominant performance over George Kambosos this past weekend out in New York. What did you make of his performance, and where to next?
I thought it was a great performance. I think sometimes you can be as good as Richardson Hitchens, but it becomes a little bit monotonous. Win rounds. What he did on Saturday was win rounds, dominate, turn the screw, get the stoppage. And that is the sign of not just a quality fighter, but one with belief in himself. And I think that's the difference with him now. The path, everything we've done has been phenomenal to get him to this. And I wanted Saturday that, you know, we made that investment for MSG, we made that investment for George Kambosos, so that we can start to position Richardson alongside the likes of Tiafimo and Haney and in those conversations. And I think it's fair to say that job has been done because he's in those conversations now.
Obviously, we saw his post-fight comments about becoming a free agent. Since then, have you had any talks with him? Do you still feel like you'll be involved moving forward?
Yeah, I think so. I'd like to be. I mean, I think we've done a great job, and I'm just not the type of guy that's, gonna not let my feelings be told. I know that Richardson didn't say that on his own behalf. He was told to say it. On one hand, he said, Matchroom have completely changed my life. Oh, and I'm entering free agency. That's not a Richardson Hitchens line. But someone wanted him to say it. I understand the game. But I just feel like if we all know we're at the end of the contract, it wasn't a surprise. But it's like that opportunity for me should be used as a team to collectively say, wow, what a journey, what a job we've all done to get you to this position. Now let's go to the next level. And it just felt like bad timing to me when I've invested so much time and money in that process. But, it wasn't a case of if we don't work together, it's fine. The contract's up. Everybody's done their job. I think we've got massive potential together, and hopefully we can find a solution to move forward. It's just, we're only a quarter of the way through the Richardson Hitches journey. We haven't touched the sides yet. But I want to get that relationship where everybody respects each other and everyone's on the same team.
Benavidez-Smith talks, Eddie. I know you've had an offer. How far off is that from what you guys want?
I think there's potential for that fight. Callum's got a way up now defending that interim world title or fighting David Benavidez. The key for Callum is to try and become a two-division world champion. It's a very difficult job because you've got Benavidez and Dimitri Bivol. There's no easy touches, and he knows that. So he had a great fight with Boazzi last time out, and he'll make a decision over the next couple of weeks.
What do you make of Chris Eubank Jr. being pulled before the board to discuss his use of a sauna in the build-up to making weight for the Conor Benn fight?
I think the board have got to look at the whole process. I think that everybody knows how fighters make weight. I mean, what world planet do you live on? A fighter has to drop 4, 5, 6, 7 pounds in the last 48 hours. How do you think they make weight? I mean, it's kind of like a forbidden rule to talk about the process of making weight. And I know that because I've been fined before from the board years ago for talking about saunas. I didn't know back then, I mean, I was very young in the game, that you weren't allowed to have a sauna to make weight. But, I think what the board need to do, and by the way, the board do an amazing job, right? I think sometimes people think when you talk about a board's decision that you're being negative. The board do a great job, and the board truly care for the fighter's well-being. And I completely understand their mindset of, we don't want a fighter that's dehydrated going into a fight. But I think specifically they need to look more at the check weight on the Wednesday. Because the international fighters that are coming over, we tell everybody that there's a check weight. Some listen, some don't. And particularly at the moment, you're seeing the British Boxing Board of Control govern those events in Riyadh season. The international fighters turn up, they haven't read the paperwork, and they're told that they have to be a certain percentage over the weight on Wednesday. Now, I'll give you an example. If you're a 135-pound fighter, you have to be 140 pounds or something like that, 140. So you have to be £5 over the weight on the Wednesday. Now, some fighters will say, no, I just, the way I do it is I'm 6, 7 pound over on a Wednesday, £4 over, and I bring my weight down. What people are doing is making weight on Wednesday for the check weight, then hydrating, and then having to do it all over again on Friday. And it's ruining people's process. I get why the board want to do it. They're not like trying to trick you or trying to disrupt your progress. They think that's the safe way to do it. I disagree. Everybody I speak to within the science of making weight says that is not a safe way to go about the weight making process. So I think what the board need to do is have some kind of forum with 5 or 6 of the top nutritionists and weight making experts in the country to just talk about some solutions around that. Also, earlier weigh-ins on the Friday, because we'll weigh in tomorrow. At 1 p.m. But in America, we're doing the weigh-ins at 9 a.m. Those extra few hours make a massive difference to a fighter hydrating. But these are all things to talk about. I think that we just got to keep evolving. So what Eubank did was he wanted to show the world what a terrible thing this was that he was fighting at his championship weight and how brutal it was for him. And in return, the board said, you've got to come and explain yourself for what you were doing to make weight. Was he doing anything wrong? Let's be honest, not really. that fighters have to find a way to make weight. They've got to do it safely, and they've got to do that under the advice of their team. But can they do that without water manipulation? Ask any scientist that is there a fighter that doesn't manipulate his water and his hydration to make weight? Very, very few.
Very quick last one. Eubank Jr-Benn 2 day. The 27th for Tottenham are at home. The 13th is Canelo Crawford. It leaves the 6th and the 20th. What do you think?
Yeah. I think His Excellency will make a decision over the next week or so. We've been in constant communication over the last 24 hours because that's when the fixture list came out. So yeah, watch this space. Ben Eubank will be announced in due course.
Just how is your dad doing?
Yeah, he's doing good. He played cricket for the Essex over 70s last weekend. He got 60 runs. He's absolutely off his bunts, honestly. Like this actually, I gave an interview about it because this actually happened the weekend before Johnny Fisher. So he was watching Leyton Orient when he had his heart attack, and he had an operation. He got home Tuesday, and he came to Johnny Fisher that weekend. I mean, he's absolutely. I said, just rest. I'm not missing Johnny Fisher. I said, they've told you to rest. I'm not bollocks. What sort of life's that? It's like, but anyway, we are where we are. He's 77 today, actually. So yeah, which is an age we never thought he'd make. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Good luck, Bazzy, you mad bastard.
Cheers, Eddie.